A lot of couples say their marriages are worse off after having kids, but not all of them. So why does some relationships suffer while others hold strong or even improve during the transition to parenthood? That's exactly what we're going to be talking about in today's video. I'm Cameron. I'm a licensed therapist, wife, and mother, and this is my channel, Modern Marriage, where I share with you guys all the tips, resources, and insights that I've picked up from working with couples in therapy so that you can start building the relationship that you've always wanted. So this topic is one that's quite near and dear to my heart because my husband and I also happen to be parents. In fact, in just a couple months, we're going to be welcoming our second baby into the world, and we're very excited. However, I will be the first to admit that, at least on the surface, it seems very logical that having kids would make marriage harder. And in a lot of ways it does, because when you have kids, you not only have a lot more responsibilities, but you also have a lot more opportunities to disagree with or fight with your spouse. In fact, as a therapist, I've met plenty of couples who basically never fought until they started thinking about having kids or actually had kids. And I think the reason for this is because basically anyone who has met a couple with children, moms and dads very obviously have different approaches to parenting, and different approaches can always mean more conflict. But what does the data show? So according to a study published in 2010, roughly 1/3 to 1/2 of marriages in the US are either about the same or actually better off once the couple has children. So this study and similar ones like it are all based off of self-reported data, meaning that the researchers who did this study went out there and would ask couples, okay, what is your marital quality like before having kids? And then they'd wait till after they had kids and they'd ask them the same set of questions, and they would measure the differences between the couple's answers before and after having kids. A lot of the time self-reported data isn't great, but I think in this specific scenario where we care about how satisfied with the relationship these couples are, what they are willing to say out loud is a really good metric for that. So what this research suggests is that even though it does make total sense that kids would make marriage harder, so many couples report that when they have kids, their relationships actually improve, or at least they stay the same. And perhaps even more interestingly, even for the couples who say their relationships are worse off after having children, their quality of life or their life satisfaction stays about the same. So you could argue that even for couples whose marital quality declines slightly once they have kids, they're getting their happiness elsewhere. They're getting it from their children or some other part of their life that's evening things out. So really, it's pretty rare for couples to be way worse off across all dimensions of their life, including their marriage, once they become parents. But now let's look at the couples whose marriages actually improve versus the couples whose marriages get worse, and what the differences were between these two groups. Because chances are, whether or not you've already had kids, if you plan to have kids one day or you're already a parent and you're married, you want to do a good job at both. You want to keep your kids happy and take good care of them, but you also want to maintain the quality of your marriage. So what are these couples who are better off after having kids doing differently from everyone else? Before I answer these questions, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this, and share this video with someone who you think might benefit from it. So this study and others have found that there are 3 major ways that couples who thrive after becoming parents approach parenting and raising kids differently than other couples whose marriages get worse. The first way these couples are different is that both spouses are excited to become parents. Oftentimes, it doesn't go as well for couples when only one of the spouses wants to become a parent. But when they're both at least emotionally bought in, even if they don't feel totally prepared, they're still excited to become parents, that's really setting a good foundation for that transition to parenthood, which makes total sense. If you're looking forward to a change in your life, chances are it's going to go a lot better than if you're dreading it or really skeptical of it. The second way that these happy couples are different is that both spouses are 100% bought in to parenting well together, and that includes through all of the challenges as well as all of the good times. These couples aren't expecting parenting to be easy. They're not even expecting it to be super fun all of the time. They know that hard times are going to come up, but they are both still 100% committed to each other and to parenting as best as they possibly can. And that includes being willing to improve their communication skills, their approach to negotiation, so that they can problem solve more effectively together on what ends up being oftentimes some of the biggest conflicts that come up in marriage, and that's having to do with our children. And the third reason is that these couples have a plan for how their roles are going to change once they become parents. So both spouses recognize that parenting changes the dynamic of the relationship, but it also changes the dynamic of how they'll manage the household, who will be bringing in more of the money, how often both of them will be going to work, how many hours a week they'll be working, what maternity or paternity leave will look like. There's just a lot of changes that I could go on and on about when it comes to becoming a parent for the first time. And so even though you can't plan for everything and there will be a ton of surprises and hiccups along the way, these couples at least have some idea of the new roles they're going to embrace and how they're going to respect each other's different roles once they do transition to parenthood. Though these weren't explicitly mentioned in the research, I do want to mention two other differences that I've noticed as a couples therapist and the couples that I've worked with who successfully and smoothly transition to parenthood. The first one is why these couples are having kids. Are they having kids because they're lonely or bored or feeling disconnected from each other, or they're trying to fill some gap in the relationship that they think kids would be able to help with? Or do they see parenting as an inherently valuable and important vocation that will not only benefit the world by bringing new, wonderful life into it, but will also make both spouses better, more selfless people? It really boils down to, are people having kids because they are trying to fix some problem in the relationship or meet some unmet need in their own life? Or are they having kids for the benefit of those children, for the benefit of the world, and because they believe it's the right thing to do? That tends to make a really big difference in how these spouses approach parenting together. And lastly, the couples whose marriages get stronger or even improve once they have kids are the ones that get a ton of support. They have basically no pride when it comes to admitting that they need help, and they will take help from basically anyone who seems like a competent person to be helping them out, whether that's directly with the kids or around the house or at work. Whatever it is, these couples are very willing to reach out into their community and ask people for support. Raising kids is really hard, and a lot of people argue that it might be harder today than it ever has been because we're often way more hands-on, way more high-contact parents today than in previous generations. It's not necessarily the case that we all want our kids to be mega successful and achieve some high level of status or some high accomplishment, but we want our kids to be set up with the optimal childhood environment and to be given every opportunity to become the people they're supposed to be. And a lot of the times that looks like making a ton of sacrifices in our lives as parents in order to give our kids everything that they could need to become good people. And while I think that sometimes we might overinvest and need to give kids a little bit more space and ourselves a little bit more grace, it does mean that if we are going to be super involved parents, that we're going to need even more support. So not only do these happy couples I've seen try to keep their expectations for themselves as parents and their kids in check, which honestly, I could make a whole nother video about that and probably will in the future, but they also try to get as much support for themselves and for their kids from their local community and other people in their lives as they can find. It comes down to really embracing the concept that it takes a village to raise a child. And the more love we can bring into kids' lives, meaning the more people who are good for those kids, who can be involved in the kids' lives, the better off the kids will be and the less stressed the parents will be. Okay, guys, that's all I have for you today. So what did you think about this video? What are your thoughts on balancing marriage and parenting and how people who become parents for the first time can actually improve their marriages? Leave a comment on this video if you have any thoughts. I would love to hear your feedback. Until next time, I'm Cameron, and this is Modern Marriage.